Look, all I got to say is this show is good, man. This show is good. I feel like we're getting some justice for Wanda with WandaVision. Finally, getting an idea of what her true power capacity is. We didn't even see the tip of that in the movies. I told you she was a beast. She is a beast, and Disney is giving this to us. We get to see Wanda really in much more greater capacity with what she is able to do in WandaVision, and I absolutely love it. So when we open this episode 5, that's what this is. We're talking WandaVision episode 5, a very special episode. If you have not seen it, go see it, come back and then check us out in the comments. All right, let's slow down and get into it. So man, I love this episode. I love the nostalgia that this show brings. And for folks that are my age, you know what these things are. Like as we travel through the episodes in WandaVision, and now we're up to the 80s with this Family Ties theme. I remember those shows as a kid. So it's really cool how they are mixing this nostalgia with present day and doing such a good job. I mean, think about how well this show is acted, how well they capture the different time periods in the show and they mix it with present day. The storytelling here is fantastic. The acting is fantastic. The music is amazing. It takes you down memory lane when you're watching the show. And for everybody who said, well, man, I can't deal with it now. It's a little bit of a snoozer. I don't know if I can stay with it. I'm a little bit bored. I bet you're not bored anymore, because it's picking up, and all the stuff we saw in the beginning is tying together and making this thing more intriguing for us. So let's get into this episode. It will be full of spoilers. You are warned. We're going to keep going. So the biggest thing that I really like with what's happening here now is Wanda's reality warping is starting to break. She is having a hard time keeping everything in control. This perfect little world that she's trying to build is falling apart because there are different elements of what's going on in this world that are not cooperating with her reality warping. Vision is the first one that I want to talk about because now it is solidified to me that it is actually Vision. We do see from this episode that it is likely that Wanda really did go get Vision and create this reality around him and her. At first, I thought that she was casting him in her reality, but he was not really there. He was almost a figment. Figment is probably the wrong word because this is not something that Wanda is doing, fiddling around with people's brains. She is actually creating this reality. But I didn't know Vision was really real in this reality, but now I'm sure that he is there. We get a little bit of a glimpse of that from episode 4 when she looks at him and she sees him as he really is with what Thanos did to him. So he is there, and he is aware that something is going on. And what I really like in this episode is I feel like the tension between those two is really ratcheted up. There is some drama going on between those two as he really fights for her to release the folks that are within her grip and stop what she's doing. Because I do think that the people in that town are real people. I think that they are just subject to what's going on with Wanda as she warps reality. I think that some of those folks are actually SWORD agents. We get a glimpse of this because when we go back to present day, you can look and see some of the images on the wall behind Wu are SWORD agents, and we see some of those folks in Wanda's reality, so they realize that they're trapped there. So there's tension now, right, between Vision and Wanda, and I like that because we'll get to see how the show resolves that. But Vision knows what's going on, and Wanda is losing her grip on reality. We also see that there are some things in reality that she does not have full control over. The twins, for example. And now we know something is going on with Agnes. Agnes has some idea of what's going on. And if you know who Agnes is from the comic books, you're not surprised that she does know a little bit about what's going on. Now, how much sway or control she has over all of this, I'm not sure, because I do feel like Agnes is really subject to Wanda's power. I don't think that Agnes is not, well, she's not as powerful as Wanda is, even though they are the same type of being or class of being, I guess you would call them, Wanda being the Scarlet Witch. But she is aware of what's going on. And it's really fascinating now to see how these little breaks in reality are happening all around them. And when you look back, you see like these nuances of it, right? You can see people kind of making these comments about either wanting to escape the town or wanting something to be different, but kind of being powerless to help it. And now all along, we can see all of these little breaks in their reality. As Wanda begins to break down, the reality warping begins to break down, and these people experience these little nuances of what is real outside of Wanda's reality warping, and then they know that something's going on, but then Wanda sucks them back into this world that she's building. So all of these little pieces now for me are coming together, and it makes the earlier build of the show that much more fascinating. Makes it so good. So I'm interested to see how they work out this conflict between her and Vision, how they deal with that within the story build. What I think that's going to look like is, I think it's going to look like just a lot of conflict between husband and wife, but I want to see if those two will actually come opposite each other as they try and work through this, and if they actually become enemies of each other. Not enemies, I don't mean it that way, but if there is enough conflict for those two to really go at each other as he fights for her to break what's going on, and she fights to keep the world together. I do want to mention the little information that we get about Monica Rambeau when they mention Captain Marvel, and I told you, they even say that she probably could have took out Thanos by herself. When I tell you she's a beast, I'm not listening, I'm telling you the truth. The girl is a beast. But then isn't it interesting the comment that Wu makes when he says, well, I think Captain Marvel actually did a pretty good job herself, and you see Monica Rambeau's face, and she kind of switches the subject. So what's going on here? Here's my theory. There is, I do think, and some folks have commented about this online, there is something going on, some kind of friction between Monica and Captain Marvel. Now, I don't think it's a direct friction between Monica and Captain Marvel. My guess is that Captain Marvel probably did not come back and do anything for her mom while her mom was sick. That is my guess. That is my theory, and I think that Monica is salty about that. So we'll see how that whole thing unfolds, because we do know that eventually Monica will become Captain Marvel, and I think it's going to happen from this show. I think this is a setup for all of that. Let's talk a little bit about Mephisto and whether or not he is actually playing a role in this. I want to say yes. At first I wasn't sure, because I thought maybe Agnes was manipulating a lot of this, but I think that Mephisto does have a hand in this. Who Mephisto is, I don't know. Some people have surmised that it's the mailman. Who knows who Mephisto is? He's so tricky. So you don't really know. But here's what I think. I think that Pietro coming back at the end, her brother, I'm a little undecided on this. If that is actually him, and I'm not really sure whether to say yes or not. I'm inclined to say maybe, because I do think that Marvel wants to introduce him to the MCU, and he might be that bridge from the X-Men into the MCU. I don't know, we'll see. But I do think that Marvel wants to bridge that gap. But I'm wondering if whoever is controlling things outside of Wanda, because Wanda even says she's not doing all of this, and I don't think that she is doing all of it. I think that she's doing a portion of it, but not all of it. I wonder if Pietro coming back was a carrot, right? I wonder if whoever is controlling things is trying to dangle a carrot in front of Wanda's eyes to tempt her to say, listen, don't give up this reality. Here's something for you if you stay here. If you continue to build this, if you continue to warp this reality, I'm going to give you your brother back. And I think for her, that might be enough to help her continue to construct this, no matter the harm that it's causing to other people. At this point, we know that she's also in a state of grief, and we see this because when we interact with some of the other people that know now that they are being manipulated, they talk about the grief, and Monica talks about the grief that she experienced when she got pulled in. So I think this is a fantastic episode. Man, the show just continues to build and build and build. WandaVision is probably one of the best MCU shows we've seen on TV so far. Technically, maybe the only MCU show we've seen on TV so far, in case some people are trying to in case some people are trying to figure that out. I really like it. I think the show is fantastic, just from production value to entertainment to storytelling to intrigue, and then it's just a great way to really build out the MCU characters through Disney+. I would really love to see DC do something like this, to have some kind of mechanism, some avenue where they can really build out DC players or DC characters for the DCEU and not have to do that in the movie, so we could concentrate on different stories when we get to the films. I think it's such a powerful method or mechanism for bringing those folks in front of us and really getting them to a place where we can get to know them, connect with them, feel for them, so when we see them in the movies, we're that much closer to their characters. I hope that they can do something like that. I have no idea how they would, but it'd be nice if they could, and I think that they should do something like that. So WandaVision was fantastic. Those are my thoughts on WandaVision. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you check out more videos. If you are seeing this on Facebook, head over to Dark Side Reviews on YouTube. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, then go to the next video. Peace.